pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. All right, let's get this thing rolling. I need a motion to approve the minutes from May 13th, 2024, regular meeting, and the May 15th, 2024 special section, please.
So moved.
But first, do I have a second?
I have some things to bring up, and I didn't get a chance to review these until this morning because I've been dealing with a lot of personal issues last week and through the weekend. So I feel there needs to be some corrections done for the meeting minutes for the special session that was held in Brandon. And that would be in the paragraph that starts out following public comment. Supervisor Ort reviewed several questions. Down towards the end of that large paragraph, where it starts in, Ort also serves on Intercog board. This organization has history of providing guidance to the county regarding updated the county comprehensive plan. What that should state is that Intercog was one of the companies, organizations that submitted a bid to do a review of the comprehensive land use plan. So they submitted the bid, and that I am on the board, and that there was acquisitions made that I could have a potential influence of the outcome of that if they did the review of the comprehensive land use, because I'm on the board. Second part here about where it's stating that I was trying to stack the deck, that is reference to stacking the deck was a comment of an individual that would like to see that excuse me, I'm gonna back up a little bit. Comment of some individuals I would like to see on the comprehensive advisory board. And that by requesting that, or them individuals be on that board, that I was stacking the deck.
So how would you like it worded? Because when I went back in to put this information in, I took that off of the recording from Wednesday night.
They're just simply that that I would like it stated that Intercog submitted a bid for if we want to move ahead with the revision and review of the comprehensive land use plan. And it had been said that I could have potential influence of the outcome of that because I sat on that regional board.
So would you like me to put the wording in basically regarding that Intercog submitted a bid to review the comprehensive plan?
Yes.
Okay, I can do that. I didn't recall hearing that during the recording, but the sound isn't the best on it, but that's fine. I can do this.
I completely understand, Chris. There's a lot of noise and background noise and everything going on. We're trying to listen and see what's going on. Also, that I would also like to state on there that that comment had been made when I was indicating some individuals and recommended some individuals to be on that comprehensive land use plan if we moved ahead on it, that it was said that I was trying to stack the deck.
Well, I have in there that you stated had been rumored due to him serving on the Intercog board that he was trying to stack the deck. That's a sentence that I have in the minutes.
like to say that stacking the deck so people know it's because of
That
the
is-
people that I want.
Those three words are in there. It's clearly, it says he is trying to stack the deck.
With those corrections in there, we'll make a motion, second the motion, then to approve.
Do I have an all in favor? Do you want, since I him amend your motion?
Yes.
Okay,
That's fine.
all right.
So we'll have Ort make the motion with the corrections and seconded by Kurtz.
Correct.
All right, all in favor for the approval?
All right.
Can I have approved claims filed with the county auditor in the amount of $484,717.58.
So moved.
I have a first, do I have a second?
Second.
A first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meet with roadside manager Cheryl and Hazen regarding no spray agreements.
Well, hopefully this is easy, and I just kind of wanted to touch base with you guys. I'll kind of go through my little spill, and then we'll go from there. One thing I want to be known is Buchanan County spot sprays. We only spray trees and noxious weeds. We do not broadcast spray the ditches,
Okay.
because we do need pollinators in the roadside. We have 963 miles of roadside, so I spray both sides. The thing is that we have a lot of organic farmers in the county. I respect the organic farmers, and I have always tried to work with them because I believe they are important. But we do not have enough manpower each year to go back and cut the spots where the organic farmers are. We let in Buchanan County, and I don't want this to change right now, but we let them use the ditch as their buffer zone because that gives them more yield in their fields. There are some counties that don't do that because they make them put their buffer zone inside their field, and then they can spray the roadsides.
Okay.
I just want to work together with them because there are some areas that every third year I go and I have to cut these trees. If they can catch them, we've cut a lot of areas. If they could go out with loppers, or, they could be more involved with the organic farming process, then it would benefit the whole county. Because, with the trees, cut the small trees before they get big, so they don't have any like snow problems or safety problems, or, there's just a lot of reasons to cut those smaller trees out of there. The thing is that I talk to them often. I've been here many years. There's some places I talk to them every year. There's some places that I've cut 2 years ago and it's back up. And smaller trees are going to grow fast. In a couple of years, you have to go back out with the chainsaw and cut them. And then it gets to be a problem because I'd rather go up to a bigger tree and cut it than a bunch of smaller trees. We just don't have the manpower to keep up each year cutting it. So the thing I would like to put into place, and I'm hoping I do not need to use this, but first I would like to stop and give them a verbal warning and say, please, talk to them about the benefits. I have had a lot of organic farmers cut their ditch and keep up on it. Give them a verbal warning. Then I would like to wait give them a certain amount of time, and I will work with them with the verbal warning. I don't want someone out there when it's 100 degrees cutting trees. I know that's the times you can, but give them a verbal warning. If the verbal warning doesn't work, then I would like to move to a written warning and say to them, what, you didn't really, you had this good time weather. You could have been out there loppering the trees or cutting the trees. I'm going to give you this verbal warning. And then with that, or written warning, and then with that, I might have to spray some of their ditches. And I know that's hard to go by because I don't want to do this, but I don't know any other way of having them help me. I can't keep going to these spots year after year after year and, letting the trees grow right beside the road.
Right.
And, the other thing is that, do you have any suggestions? Is kind of why I brought it here. What I should do, I've been doing this many years. I have begged, I have pleaded, I have cut so many trees in these spots, and it's just getting harder each year to keep going back to the same area. When we have the whole county, we have 963 miles, and there's other parts of the county, they get a lot of attention, and I can't then keep spreading it to the other part of the county when we don't have the manpower.
Right.
It's about the buffer zone that they're using, the ditches part of the buffer zone.
Yes,
Now, and it's supposed to be, buffer zone is supposed to be chemically free, correct?
yes,
Okay, so my question is, if they would go out there and lop tree off, whatever.
yes,
It's all the way from a finger size to maybe that size.
Yes.
And you know what happens to a lot of trees and
Yes.
bushes and stuff. You instantly, the next year,
especially
you got a big
willows, yes.
brushy, if it's not chemically treated with Tordon. Would they, in this buffer zone, would they be able to use Tordon on the stump after they cut?
Well, they can talk to their their organic representative, and there's other chemicals they can use. Tordon would probably be no, because Tordon goes through the root system. But if they would talk to their representative and get approval for different kinds of chemicals, there are stuff out there that will prevent it. I try not to give recommendations to them because I don't want to get them in, each representative I've talked to is different. Some says, they have to use like salt water. Some said they could use Roundup. Others, because Roundup doesn't spread into the field. Tordon would be a no. But they could each talk, if they want to keep their buffer zone, they can do a little bit of talking to the representative to, decide what to do.
So
But
there is some options there.
Yes.
That's good to know. And next thing, I would highly recommend when you go out and give your verbal warning to document that.
yes, and I need to, it's just getting harder and harder, but yes, I'm going to start documenting, going out and talking to them. They all know me. They see me when I pull in, they all know who the organic farmers. I've talked to every single one of them. They know who I am.
Right.
So it's no surprise when I show up at their door each year.
They just need to be willing to work with you.
Yes, and it wouldn't take a lot, it's not like I'm gonna run out and try to spray all these areas. I haven't for the last 18, 19 years. I'm not gonna start, but I need to get some teeth in that says, hey, if you're not going to do this, this is what I'm gonna do, without just verbally telling them. I need to have something that they see that paper and I'm willing to work with them. I don't want to set it up. Oh, I'm going to do the verbal warning. And 2 weeks later, you're going to get a written warning. And 2 weeks later, I'm going to spray it. Each situation is going to be different on the time of the year. I don't want them out there when it's hot, and that they're going to, I'm willing to work with them, but we all have to work together on it.
Do we have a policy on that?
I did,
Facility?
when I first started, I handed out no spray agreements.
Okay.
And they would sign this no spray agreement saying that they would, help take care of the ditch. They all did that. Well, then with time, it's just I've gotten so many, and I couldn't keep up on with the no spray agreements. They all know what they're supposed to do, but they just we just need to have a little bit better communication and working together with them.
When you talk to them, they blow you off or
Most of
Act
them
like they
say they're
wanna
gonna
agree.
do it. Yes, most of them say do it. And that's okay, and a lot of them have, and a lot of them work really hard on it. And there's a lot of situations that, like you said, with willows, one spot is full of willows. He'll go out and cut it. and then it comes back the next year bigger and better. So, but it's hard to, we just all need to work together on it. And I thought this was the best way to get that information out, is to talk to you guys and know that it's one, we need to work. But I also, I don't want them going out there, I wanted to put this little information in here. I do not want landowners to go out and just broadcast spray. We have pollinators in the ditch for a reason. We do need the pollinators. We spot spray, and we are particular about spot spraying because we do need the pollinators. We need the flowers, so I don't want someone to go out there and broadcast spray the ditch too, because I get a lot of that in Buchanan County. And we spend a lot of time trying to not let that happen. I try to keep up as much as possible. Yes, I will get spots that have Candida thistles or thistles in it and stuff like that, because it is a big county and we only have 2 people that do it. But we also have to need to think of the pollinators. We need the flowers. We need places for smaller, animals to live. So.
Would you, this letter that you're wanting to send out, would you send that draft to us, board of
Yeah.
supervisors,
Yes.
for us to review? And if we have any questions of it, we can get back with you.
Yes, definitely. And it's more, I'm hoping I never have to use beyond the letter.
Right.
But I do need something that they can look at and see. So
This could lead to phone calls to us. You gotta know,
I'm hoping.
We need to put that through to the county attorney's office to look at it.
It wouldn't hurt to make sure that that letter is following the policy that's in place.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea.
yeah. So what do you guys think of it all?
I think it's a great idea.
Okay,
Works for me.
all right.
Yes, get the letter.
And I'll get the letter going, and I just wanted to touch base with you first. And like I said, I am not going to go out there and, and the other thing, if I could say to them, they need to have their no spray signs visible. I have sprayed an area and they came out and very upset with me because I sprayed the area, and I'll take them back and show them that their no spray signs are not visible.
Right.
We, a long time ago, when I first started, we have made no spray signs up, because when I first went out and sprayed, there was no spray signs out in the middle of nowhere. I didn't know if it was the beginning. I didn't know if it was the end of the no spray area. So we have given everybody, when they come into the office, I talk to them. We give them a no spray sign that has the arrow at the beginning, no spray sign that has the arrow at the end. Because then I know between those 2 spots that it's no spray. Because before that, I was just guessing. Where's the spray? Where's the spray area?
I've seen some of them that are completely obscured because of all the overgrowth. And everything.
Yes,
You
if
can't
I
even
don't
see it there.
see them, I'm gonna end up spraying, or, I kind of know the areas, but I do hire seasonal workers that go up there, and they need to see the sign. They need to be visible, or I'm gonna end up spraying it, accidentally, not on purpose, but we just all need to work together.
So, can I have a motion that for Sherilyn to proceed with her letter once she has it drafted, to send a copy to our county attorney
Yep.
and to the supervisors?
Yep, that will be perfect.
Second.
The first and second driver, all in favor?
Right.
All right, thank you.
Great.
Mental health and disability will be here about 9:30, so let's move forward with E911 and the compensation times. Rick and Karen and
Morning, kids.
Take the good chair.
How you doing?
Mhm.
I sent an email to you guys last week after your meeting to kind of get some advice from you with how you want me to proceed with my vacation and my comp time I have. Currently, I'm sitting at 50 hours of comp time and 97.5 hours of vacation. I am going on vacation next week. So what I'm asking is, can I move one of them into next year? We won't have this problem again after July 1st because on the salary, so comp time won't be a factor anymore. Either that or I'm gonna have to take June off.
Can you carry vacation over?
The issue is the vacation, according to the new policy that was put in place, only 1 week can be carried over. 5 days,
40 hours.
so it'd be 37.5 hours. We'd have to use that within 60 days. The carryover date. So if you have 97.5.
I've been
You
trying
still would
I've been
have-
trying to use up comp time as fast as I can and just with our,
We've got some on the books. We've
Yeah.
got some on the books.
I think I can get through my comp time before July. Shooting for, but like again, I have a meeting tonight and a meeting tomorrow night.
The issue is too, your anniversary date's July 1st.
July 1st.
So that's when your vacation has to be used by.
So either I can move some forward or like I said, I'll just make our open house and our thing when I get back from vacation and just take the rest of the month off.
What's the balance of your vacation time right now?
97.5.
And you can only carry over 37.5.
Yep.
The issue is you start amending these policies, you're gonna have others.
Yep.
I agree.
And that's why I put it up in an email to you last week after last week's decision you guys made. To see if there's anything that I can do. I know I've talked to Chris, I've talked to Don about it and they wanted me to use my comp time up first. Because I can't get paid out of my comp time because we didn't budget for that. So we understand that we can't pay out comp time.
So these meetings, these couple meetings that you said that are coming up, evening meetings or.
Yep.
Is that how this comp time is
A
developed?
lot of it's that and storms.
Okay, so I was wondering about it, and I don't know how this works, the flexibility with your hours and your supervisor who Rick is here, so.
Yep, and that's why.
Is there any way that this could be flexed, like say, this afternoon you could take off? And is there any way to work around somebody's comp time hours, build them up by giving him some other time off through the day?
We've been trying to
We've
do
been-
some of that too, but we're also trying to keep up and get back on 911 signage. And that was one thing he did last week is probably some 911 signs placed and marked. And so it's hard to keep up with it all, but try to balance it as best we can. Yeah.
Like tonight is the fireman meeting. We're redoing. I gotta present the new talkers to them for the radio system. The good thing is it's in Winthrop, so it won't only be not very long. And then tomorrow night is, I gotta meet with the fair board over the fair. So
So there is a possibility then that you could, I mean, you're gonna have to take a lot of time off, but you could.
Yeah.
You got until
It's
what
just-
date is the cutoff in June where you'd have to have your vacation time used?
30th, 31st, or how many days are in June?
30.
30.
31st.
It's only 30 days.
Yeah. So I'm off from Monday or Tuesday through the following Tuesday. I'll be in Alabama on vacation and then I would have to use it up 2 or 3 weeks in June.
I'll stay down a little bit longer and do some alligator hunting or something.
I would if my wife had time off, but she doesn't have to wait, so. But I'm just bringing it up to you guys because we're gone. I know, Rick has vacation he has to use up too. Stuff, so there's gonna be. Especially with storms like last night, I was on the radar at 3:15 this morning. And a storm came through. That's just part of the job. That's not a big deal.
Anytime we adjust policy. It's, makes you wonder why you even established the policy to begin with.
So you can carry 37.5 hours over. The 60
And use it
hours.
by 60 days.
No, with 360 days, roughly a year,
Mhm.
it's a darn shame that you guys come to us at the last minute with all this built up. You need to be thinking further ahead. This is ridiculous. I mean, not singling you out. I'm talking
And that's
about
like
everybody.
I planned on my vacation and stuff and
That's a personal
Then you-
planning issue that you gotta take care of yourself. We can't plan it for you. It
You
puts
guys-
the county in
it's
a
last week.
bad situation.
if you want me to use it, I will use it. No big deal. Just so you know.
I know, and don't get me wrong, Chris. I appreciate your dedication and what you do for your job and taking care of your end and stuff.
Trying.
And making sure that things are, it has been kind of hectic, you know, some things that have been going on with the EOC and stuff, and you staying ahead on that project and stuff, and I fully get it, but, I kind of agree with John, so there had to be some time in there that you just need, all of our employees need to work on using it up ahead of time, and not waiting until the last 6 weeks to try and burn up a lot of time.
Okay.
So I would just, hopefully you can have time off and enjoy it.
I
So,
will try.
You don't want us micromanaging you.
Well, the problem is it doesn't stop when I leave here. That's,
Exactly.
I'm gonna have to shut my phone off,
it's
basically.
a 24/7.
And it's part of it. I mean, well, I will use stuff.
Thank you for your dedication.
Thank you.
So. But it's okay for him to carry the 37.5 hours over per policy.
Yeah, if you can carry over, just write me a letter if that's what you want to do.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
I'll leave the paperwork, Chris. I have to paperwork for you to send over in your office.
All right, mental health and disability regional update.
Morning.
How are you guys?
Wonderful day.
Rainy day. Yeah, rainy right over. So I'm here this morning for an update. Hopefully you know that on January 9th, the governor announced in her condition of the state address that she wanted to change 13 mental health and disability services regions and 19 substance use areas into 7 behavioral health districts. So the governor announced that January 9th, and we waited for a bill, and we finally got a bill around mid-February. Felt like it took a while. So we got a bill mid-February, and also around that time, they released a map. So I'm going to give you the map. This says very, very clearly draft of the map. So what the proposal was is to make 7 behavioral health districts. So instead of mental health and disability services regions, then the bill proposed that there will be behavioral health districts. Within those behavioral health districts, there will be assigned an administrative services organization, which will be responsible for the administration of behavioral health services within those districts. It's a little bit unusual because like now we're in mental health regions and the region is the region, right? Like we don't have different names, and it'll be different names under this new bill. The governor did sign it last Wednesday. So I talked about the bill, but it is now law. It was effective upon enactment. So make 7 districts, and the administrative services organizations will be responsible for administering both brain health and substance use services. So if you remember, for the past 2 years, this has been one of our highest legislative priorities. We know that people who experience brain health issues often experience substance use disorder as well, and vice versa. right? So it's something that we've thought that we would be important in our state for policy and for funding. The bill does that. And it creates these administrative services organizations, which will be listed in the law as instrumentalities of the state. So that means that the instrumentalities of the state can accept and pass through federal funding. The state has a federal mental health block grant and a federal substance use block grant that will now flow through the administrative services organizations. The law also includes the $120 million-ish that have been the MHDS standing appropriations for the past 3 years now, 3 years, for the past 3 years, that standing appropes. So there's a significant amount of money that's going into this. We don't know yet how it will be divided. So we don't know right now. Our funding is based on a per capita by the number of people who live in our region. In the behavioral health districts, I'm not exactly sure that it is going to be per capita, but I don't know the alternative. So we just don't know yet, which brings me to the larger point. There's a lot of stuff we don't know. We know that there will be administrative services organizations and that they will administer the services. We know that the administrative services organizations have to either be a region that was formed before June 30th of this year or a nonprofit agency. So, and then a few other things we know, like administrative services organizations will have to demonstrate competence in being able to administer these services. And that's about as much as we know about the administrative services organizations. We don't know their structure. We don't know if they're governmental organizations, if there can be a 501c3, a private nonprofit. Don't know that yet. And I think a little bit of that is up to us. So when I say, go ahead.
How would they demonstrate competence? I mean,
Well,
that
I think-
seems at this point in time, you're going to throw a plan at them and it seems very subjective. Oh, this looks like it will work, this looks like it won't work, or.
Past performance, I would
Yeah.
say.
Our experience of administering these services as a mental health and disability services region. What I'm planning to put
Right.
forth is, the demonstration of competence.
Yeah.
So we've been really clear since January when the governor made her announcement that we will intend to become an ASO or form whatever we need to form as an organization to apply to become the administrative services organization. So the bill reads that the Department of Health and Human Services will publish a final draft of this map on August 1st of this year. So if you look at the map closely, you'll see that Johnson and Iowa counties, who are currently part of the East Central region, are not included in that Northeast Behavioral Health District. We feel pretty strongly that we would like to keep Johnson and Iowa counties with us. That will, in a year from now, we'll refer to ourselves as Legacy East Central region. We would like Johnson and Iowa to stay with us. The corridor, the geographic and the population base between Johnson and Lynn counties is very unique in Iowa. There's no other like 2-county area that is quite the same in Iowa. So the traffic and the service utilization between those 2 counties is really significant, as well as provider partnerships. So Johnson and Lynn, we feel strongly need to stay together. And then Iowa County, because of its population base, a lot of people from Iowa County go to Johnson County for services. And so we'd like to keep Johnson and Iowa together and Lynn and Johnson together. So I have already submitted formal input to the Department of Health and Human Services about keeping those counties with the counties that right now make up the East Central region.
That would have a huge impact on funding too, wouldn't it? Population.
It certainly could, but on the other hand, like we pick up Blackhawk. And so, I mean, some of that equals out. That's a really good question, John. That the yellow that you see on this map, that population is about 708,000 people. And right now, as the East Central region, our population is 610. So it does, even taking Johnson out, it gives, more counties to the west, to the Northeast region. And so it actually increases the population, but it's 17 counties versus 9. Yeah, increases the population by about 100,000 people. So Obviously, the county social services, which is the region to our west, great partners of ours, of a lot of their counties. It's 10 counties in the yellow, 10 counties that right now are county social services and 7 that are the East Central region. So Mary McKinnell, the CEO from County Social Services, and I have had several conversations about what does collaboration look like, and can we do a joint proposal to be the administrative services organization, and how will that look?
So there's gonna be an RFP on this. This is
Yep.
gonna be competitive bidding.
Yes. So on July 1st of this year, HHS will release a transition plan. So where we'll get, hopefully, because I said there's a lot of unknown. So we'll get a little bit more detail July 1st. Within that plan, we're anticipating, because they've said this will happen at the same time. So I think it's going to be maybe part of the plan. There will be new draft and possibly drafts, plural, of the map. They've kind of hinted that they might float 2 or 3 maps out there, and then they'll solicit feedback. August 1st, they have to have the map finalized. Then fall. We don't have a timeline yet, but in the fall of this year, there will be a request for proposal. It will be a competitive process for agencies to apply to be the administrative services organization.
How many counties were in our prior district?
9.
9.
Mhm. So the Department of Health and Human Services is required now by law to to name the administrative services organization on December 31st of this year.
And rules will be coming out sometime.
Yes. HHS was given emergency rule making authority in the bill, but they actually don't think that they need much. It's a little weird. So there will be rules that are coming out. Certainly, there may be some emergency rules, and then eventually down the line, other administrative rules. So right now, Iowa Administrative Code, Chapter 225C, is the one that created the mental health and disability services regions. The bill says that 225C will sunset on June 30th, 2025. So on June 30th, 2025, we will cease to be a region. On 7/1 of 25, the administrative services organization ramps up. So they'll name the administrative services organizations December 31st of this year, and we have that 6-month period if we are named the administrative services organization to ensure that we have contracting authority, right? Because if we cease to exist as a region on June 30th, then we won't have contract authority anymore. And one of the most important things that advocacy groups and us people across the state have said, we don't want people who get services to have a gap in services. So we have to make sure that we have that administrative services organization stood up in those 6 months, and to ensure that we have contracting authority so we can contract with providers.
I got it.
Yep. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't know he was getting ready. It's kind of the thing, the focus here is supposed to be have a central area where services are gonna be kind of hubbed and out of it. Like in Johnson County, they have a lot of things in place in Johnson County already. And you look at where Wayne County is, and Lucas County,
Mhm.
distance
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
Johnson
Yeah.
even. And if
Yeah.
we bring Johnson up into our region, is that gonna make it a lot more difficult for that area down there to get services?
It's a really great question. You're the first one who's asked me that so far. So what an administrator at HHS described to me probably in early February is to think about it in terms of 3 to 4 to 5 county hubs and develop services in 3 to 4 to 5 counties, however kind of it shakes out geographically and population wise, really concentrate on developing services that way so that people don't have so far to go to get services. So I think all of the administrative services organizations, as we get going, we'll try to focus like, okay, what is kind of like these like little kind of regional hubs within, so that we don't, because you're right, like look how far, Lee County is from Johnson, or, Allen McKee County from Lynn, right? They're great geographical distances. So we'll be a little bit more strategic, I think, in our service planning.
I know I went through something kind of similar to this in somewhat of a way. Iowa Workforce and Development.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We had a 7-county region, and then all of a sudden, the federal government came in and said that we have to shrink the amount of regions we had and stuff like that. So we went from a 7-county to a 20-county.
Mm.
So.
Very
we
similar,
really
very
struggled-
similar.
When we were really struggling, wondering how we're gonna get the services out there to the folks that need the services, you know, with that large 20 county region, and it was kind of a struggle putting things together. You know? And that was kind of a similar situation to what we got going here.
It is. You know, the good news for us at least, and I hope again, demonstrating our competence is we have an office in every county. And so, I mean, like we have people, we have an office in every county and, you know, I'm not exactly sure the status of the counties that are currently county social services, if they have an office in every county for sure.
I think they have shared staff.
Maybe
that-
some shared,
that
yeah,
they're
I do know they have,
part-time.
yeah.
They have an office, but.
We
they're
have
not
a
there all the
full-time
time.
presence in all 9 of our counties. And so, you know, we say, okay, at least we can focus in that we have that presence already.
If like in here, could we have the ability, like if in any region would be that way? If a person isn't set up in their home to do FaceTime with a provider, getting assistance help, is there a way that they could come to, say, down in your office area and go into a room and we could provide that services there so they could get linked in?
Yeah.
And receive it, so they wouldn't have to travel such long distances?
We already have some situations set up like that in our region now, but yeah, I mean, that's a good suggestion, right? We might have to expand those types of opportunities.
And services are available in other counties too. It's not just like, they're not
Yeah.
just available in Lynn or Black Hawk.
Mm-hmm.
And if people aren't restricted to their district or to their region, I mean, even if Johnson is in our region, somebody in another region can utilize services in the other. So it's not like, yeah, you have to stay.
So there's nothing in motion to shut down the individual county offices.
Oh, gosh, no. The bill does limit, one of the controversial things, and it never got, you know, never rose to the level of some other things at this legislative session. But one of the things that we talked to legislators quite a bit about this year was that there's an administrative cap on the administrative services organizations at 7%. As a region right now, our administrative costs are 8%. So I wasn't super worried about 7%. I just was in favor of the legislator passing language that said HHS will have the ability to set the cap because 7%, it's in the law. So if HHS decides that they want the administrative services organizations to do more and they want to give more administrative costs, they would have to go back and have a new bill passed, you know, and so I was just more in favor of it being a little bit more open, but the 7% passed.
We go back to Clayton's question though. It would look different because we wouldn't remain county employees the way we're looking at it. There might be an office locally, but the employees would be administrative service organization employees or a single county.
Yeah.
So there'd still be local presence, but not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah. There's a lot of unknown right now. And when the state behavioral health plan and the transition plan come out, when the RFP comes out, we're going to know a lot more and certainly work our darndest. So we've already started, right? We sat down, the administrative team and I sat down and we talked about what are our current partnerships, right? Because we are expanding the system in Iowa to include substance use services. Again, we've advocated for that. We think that's a great thing about this bill. There's a difference with aging and disability services are kind of being shifted around within bureaus at HHS. Not exactly sure what that's going to look like yet, but we do know that there is a super need and a desire on our part to partner with the AAAs, the area agencies on aging, because it's kind of pulling it together for all the, the mental well-being of all Iowans. And so we sat down and we made a list of the current partnerships that we have. So we said, in our region, what do we currently encourage as partnerships? What do we?
I'll make a copy.
I'm quite sure I made 5 because I wanted to make sure you always had one, Chris. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Thank you.
So there's just a list of some of the partnerships, and it's not just like who do we have contracts with. It was more about where are there active collaborations and where have we as a region encouraged collaborations. So you see some partnerships between different providers because we've encouraged that. We've funded them to work together. And that's something that I've said for a few years now. HHS has always asked the mental health and disability services regions to work together, which is great, and we do, but I also want to make sure that the providers within our region work together so we have a more seamless system of care. So we started with that list, and then we developed this one, which is a plan then for how are we going to get input? It's really sure I made 5 copies. Here we go. See, I set copies aside for myself, but then I was keeping another one for myself. I have enough. All right. So this plan for input, we talked about within those collaborations and kind of those headings there, who do we need to talk to and ask them about developing an administrative services organization and what will that look like? So provider groups, we're all meeting with provider groups in our counties, the AAAs, right? The area agencies on aging, meeting with them, substance use disorder providers. We, the administrative services organizations will be responsible for contracting with substance use organizations. It's not that the administrative services organization is going to take over those services. That's not any of ours. Whoever is going to apply for the ASO is not our expertise. So it's getting their input about what do these collaborations, what do these partnerships look like? Law enforcement, of course, we work with law enforcement quite a bit. The CCBHC, I have to think about the acronym.
Community
Behavioral health
behavioral
clinic.
health,
Community crisis, no.
no.
Certified community behavioral health clinic. Whew, took me a minute.
Get that other
See, I know. Or the community mental health center. So meeting with them, we have 3 community mental health centers in our region, and we have 2 CCBHCs. 2 of the CMHCs are also CCBHC. One of the CMHCs is not, if that tracks. Public health. So again, partnerships and where are those important? Right now, a lot of substance use services and prevention in Iowa fall under the jurisdiction of public health, but that's kind of coming over to behavioral health. And so it's like, okay, let's have a conversation with our public health partners.
Speaking of that, don't mean to interrupt you, but
No problem.
so the opioid funds, which public health has started making plans for, is that also going to transfer to?
Not the ones that go to counties, but I think the state opioid funds do, Dawn. I have to look back in the bill. I know there's been talk about it, but I can't remember if that made that in the bill or not. Definitely not the county ones.
All right.
I'll check on the state ones and let you know.
Okay.
Educational community, and then, so we actually, it's at the bottom, but we had the educational community meeting on Friday and it went really well. So you'll see at the bottom of this page that there are 6 questions. And we're asking those 6 questions of all the groups that we meet with. You know, what are you excited about? What are you concerned about? If you could build the system, what would it look like? How do you see your agency having a role in this? What additional partnerships need to be developed? And what do you think is potential for the ASO that the region perhaps has not been able to do? So we're going to ask those questions for all of the groups. I've got another group tomorrow that I'm meeting with, a local group in Johnson County that I'm meeting with to talk about these questions. Again, just trying to get the most input we can to build the most informed proposal when we write it. Once that official map is released on August 1st, you see that last line is replicate in the new counties. We said we're going to start with the counties where we have partnerships. We identified those partnerships. We're going to start in those counties, R9. And then when we find out August 1st, this is the map for which we'll be applying to be an administrative services organization. Who do we need to meet with them then, and then get their input as well?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Presently, you know, that we have now is the involvement with the counties, you know. We've had representation from county. Gary's here.
Yeah.
He used to be on the mental health board. He was actually an officer and representative from our county on that board, voting member and stuff. And then Dawn, when Gary left, Dawn took that role and stuff like that. So in the future, what kind of input is the county going to have in this? Is there going to be an advisory board made up of county representation from anybody?
You're asking all the best questions today, Clayton. Yes, there is an advisory council that is mandated in the law. Now, it's an advisory council, so it's different than a regional governing board. The advisory council has 9 members, three providers, 3 county representatives, and 3 people who use services, I think is how that ended up.
Not schools, law enforcement. I was thinking those are all on there.
I can't remember the whole list. But I think they're included in
And
providers.
providers.
Yeah,
Okay, yep.
Yep. So a small group, right, and advisory in nature, that's one thing, that's mandated. Keep in mind, as we develop an administrative services organization, we're gonna need some governance. And so we might choose, and I have a small group of the regional governing board who is gonna be a subcommittee to kind of advise us on what that structure needs to look like. We could choose to have a board, you know, for the administrative services organization as well. That's one of those things that's a little bit unknown, like it's not listed in the bill. Like, what's the structure of the administrative services organization? And because a private nonprofit could apply, I don't think they could be prescriptive in the bill. So I think it's a little bit going to be up to us of how we want to structure that. So we can choose to have county involvement and, you know, kind of figure out how that's going to look as we move forward.
Because I would like to see that, you know, if we see some way, anybody in the county, the supervisors or Julie's office, anything, feels like there's some way they're falling short in providing services to our people in need out here, that we have a say, hey, you're not providing the services that we need. You know, we need a little uptake here.
And the other part of that is, if there is no involvement, then how do you know what services are there?
Right.
You know, so having an involvement of some sort would be beneficial.
Speaking of services, one of the other things that was a bit contentious when the bill came out, not from our perspective as much as some other advocacy groups, but the bill doesn't define core services. Like right now, we have defined core services that we have to do. In the East Central region, we have been always fortunate philosophically and financially that the core services, we've looked at them as the floor, not the ceiling. And we have a lot of services above those core. Well, when the bill came out and there were no core services listed, advocacy groups really were afraid, and I don't blame them for being afraid. If I had a family member who used services, or if I was a provider and I didn't know that those services were going to continue to be supported, then I would have some concern as well. But for us, I always knew as an administrative services organization, if we were designated, that we would continue to just build. But the final version of the bill lists core functions. It still doesn't list core services, and the core functions are prevention and education and early intervention, recovery support, and crisis services. So that's not really saying like mobile crisis response, but it says crisis services. And so the focus is a little bit more on function, less on service. And again, I anticipate when that RFP comes out, when the state behavioral health plan comes out, we'll have more definition of what services are to be included.
So otherwise, you're not going to have consistency across the state.
I know. And that's one of the
That's what they
reasons.
wanted.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that they wanted to do this, is to have the consistency. So that's why I think in the RFP, it'll be like, what is your plan to make sure, X, Y, and Z services are available?
And there are required outcomes, so you're going to have the services to meet the outcomes.
Yeah.
So they're no longer gonna be county employees. They would be,
We don't know that yet. I mean, again, I have a subcommittee of the board who's going to advise us. In my mind right now, we have 3 options. We might come up with more than that. Either we stay there as we are with individual county employees. We go to one county of employer of record in one county, like bring all the employees to one county. Or we set up a 501c3 and we're employees of that 501c3 and completely away from county government. The bill it's not the bill, it's a different place in the law, because the bill says that the ASOs will be an instrumentality of the state. And there is a caveat in the law somewhere, I've seen it, but I can't remember where it is, that instrumentality of the state employees are IPERS eligible.
It's under the IPERS. It's in the
Yeah.
IRS code.
Yeah,
Sean
I
found
don't-
it for us.
I can't remember what the number is. Yeah, it's probably in here somewhere if I dig. But anyway, that was a concern of ours. If we say, okay, we're going to form a 501c3, we have a lot of employees, myself included, who are, very well vested in IPERS, and we don't want to lose that. So I'm not exactly sure what it's going to look like yet, but I'll keep you informed when we start figuring it out.
So since it's not gonna be a county specific office anymore. I mean, we get to charge rent for the space they
Mhm.
use.
We already pay that.
Yeah, the
Regional.
region already pays it,
Okay.
yeah. But that would not change. It's not rent per se, but it's a cost allocation,
Yeah,
Okay.
based
Yeah.
on the,
square footage and,
And like
And-
percentage of
Percentage.
utilities.
Yep.
things like
yeah,
that.
Uh, I can say it's good luck with getting Johnson and Iowa back into this district.
There are a
Yes.
lot of folks in those counties who are very interested in staying with us. And every time I go down there, they say, can we write a letter of support? I'm like, you sure can. Let's wait till this summer.
That's great. It's gonna take a lot of voices to accomplish this. But I know in the early stages of all this, there were some people that were putting this together, seemed to be very adamant, and it came out early that there was gonna be a split of Johnson and Lynn. There were some individuals that apparently was adamant about that, and that it got put out there.
individual.
In some of the early things that I seen when they
Mhm,
started talking about these districts. So I don't know who these people are that.
Me either, because my conversations with administrators at HHS have not been adamant about that. They've listened and they nod. I don't know if they agree with me, but they listen and they nod when I talk about it. They haven't told me like, May, there's no hope, stop asking. I haven't gotten that yet.
Right.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, questions about this? It's a big move, but it's not necessarily a bad move, right? We have really committed and passionate staff in our region and partners and our regional governing board. And I don't know, Dawn, what do you think? But I feel like the regional governing board's been like, okay, well, we're gonna roll up our sleeves and get to work. We have to. Like, yeah, if we can whine about it all day long, but that does you no good. It's like you just need to accept it and move forward and the best way forward for us and for our people. Yep.
Where does our mental health facilities fit into this at all?
Kind of, I mean, obviously they're a huge partner, but they were not impacted by the bill at all. The last thing I have is I wanted to give you guys one of these because they're super cute and I'm handing them out wherever I go. So this came out of several meetings that I was at last summer when I would go to meetings and people would wring their hands and say there are no services for children. And I would say, excuse me, yeah, there are. We have developed some services for children. Now, I don't think we're done and we still have a lot to do, but I wanted to put out there some communication for people like, yes, there are services for children. This list is not all inclusive because there are some that are independent of the MHDS regions that we didn't list all of those, but QR code on the back for people if they are looking for services for children. The intended audience of this brochure is professionals, other adults, regional governing board, boards of supervisors, not for families. We have a different one that is a little bit shorter. It's like a one page that's like this big. It's a kind of a flyer type thing. And it's being put in doctor's offices and libraries all across our region. And that one, the intended audience is parents to say, if your child is suffering from behavioral health need, here are services that are available. So really trying to get the word out there about the work we've done in the last 4 years for children's services.
That'd be great. Other major employers even had the HR had that they could hand it out to the employees.
That's a good idea. They're all teasing me like this branding is going to go away in a year. And I'm like, okay, let's get it out there this year. That's a good idea. But some of them might stay, like the llama might stay. If we're allowed, because the llama is so darn cute. Anything else?
No. I want to thank you. Very good presentation and explanation. May, thank you much.
Yeah. Good to see you guys. I'll be back when we kind of figure out a little bit what we're doing, probably, especially when the map, the final map is out.
See what they want to change next year.
No,
On Thursday again.
another 10 years, right, Clayton? I'll see you again on Thursday, Don.
I think constant is change.
That's right.
Chaos.
Yes.
Bottom line is just make sure you get the services out there to people that need it.
When I sat down with our staff last week and Julie wasn't there because she was at VA training and I said, what is like, what's the most important thing to us? What's our, I mean, we have vision, mission, values in the strategic plan, but like, what's our vision for doing this? Is it just to become the ASO? Or what is it really about? And everybody said it's so people get services and services they need. And if we can keep that as our focus, that's why we're doing what we do, then I think we're gonna be okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is secondary roads. The conservation.
Good morning. Ben's here with me because we want to make sure that's acceptable with the board. As I was sitting there thinking about it, I remember a project we did about a year or two ago where we helped grade in the road system out there, and there was one of the supervisors grumbling, even though it had been approved beforehand, and we thought maybe I better make sure you guys are all on board with this too. What it is, they're partnering with U.S. Fish and Wildlife to create some wetlands out at Crumbacher's. And they're looking at renting some of our equipment. Originally, they're talking dozer and scraper, which we could have done. But it looks like now you're just looking at just renting the scraper.
Yep, that's the plan. The Fish and Wildlife Service has their own dozer and scraper, but the scraper is substantially smaller than the one Brian has. So to try to make it more efficient and meet the timeline that they have for the project, which is 2 weeks of their time to get the entire thing done, we thought that it would be worthwhile to rent a scraper and instead of using the one that they have. So I reached out to Brian to see if it would be a possibility to do that. And that's why we're here today.
Is all this project being funded through federal grant dollars?
For the most part, yeah, it'll be some of our budgeted dollars as well, to cover some of the expenses, but the vast majority of it will be coming through Fish and Wildlife Service. So they're providing two equipment operators that'll be running the equipment. It'll probably be about $20,000 in total of their time and per diem and stuff like that that they're donating to the project. And then there's some nature conservancy money that's coming back through them as well that's going into the project. So
If I remember correctly, I think Brian, you were telling me that county conservation kind of not falls in your purview, but you can work back and forth per state code with county conservation and the road.
Absolutely, yes, that is accurate, Dawn. That is accurate. Unlike, in other words, when I was plowing snow in the courthouse, there was locals that screamed that we can't legally do that, and they were right. But in a case like this, it's directly allowed in the code that we can do that, that we can work back together. So we wouldn't even have to charge them, but in this case, U.S. Fish and Wildlife will fund what we charge them, correct?
Yeah.
So
And we don't have any conflicting projects that we would need that.
no,
for.
no matter of fact, that scraper hasn't been used in a few years, so they brought it up, they're greasing it up, they're putting on new hydraulic lines because over the years, the lines rotted.
Sure.
Pump the tires up, they all seem to be working decent.
Is there anything that you can think of, Chris, that would be prohibited?
Said they're providing the dozer, they're pulling the scraper and stuff like that, and they were gonna have a smaller scraper, so would this be large enough to handle this big?
Yeah, actually, the plan has kind of been shifting a little bit on trying to figure out which piece of equipment we were going to use to pull the scraper. So I think what we've landed on now is they're going to rent a bigger tractor to pull the scraper instead of using their dozer. So, yeah.
Otherwise, if they wanted to use ours, we could do that too. It's an 850B that does not have a cab. And there's issues when you're out there without a cab in today's world, the silica exposure issues, silica sand exposures. But in an environment you're in, that shouldn't be a factor. The only real concern I've had for my guys has been the fact that what happens when they get out there working in a marshy ground. is inherently a risk of getting stuck.
Yeah, I don't think June is really the best time. So they were hoping to start right at the beginning of June, just with it being as dry as it was.
A little wet now.
I got an inch and a half of rain down by me last night. They've delayed it now already, where now they're talking about a July 15th start date. It's gonna be dependent upon the weather and how much water's sitting out there, because the spot that we're excavating has historically been pretty wet, so. This is all assuming weather cooperates, so.
And the rental rate we could base that off of what the Iowa Department of Transportation.
Yeah, I looked on their charts and first of all, they've got a self-propelled scraper, but they don't have a pull type scraper. And so what we could do is take their self-propelled scraper and subtract the cost of running the big dozer that the DOT would have listed. And that should give me an equitable what it should cost for the scrape, the pan.
And the invoice will be sent from where?
Secondary roads directly to county conservation at the complete of the project. We've got one other little aspect on this that we're working together too. And that is he needed to buy some of the fuel before July 1st. So what's going to happen is he's going to buy fuel, put it in my barrel, because I've got about a 9,000 gallon barrel. Then as we've got meters on it, so they can, if they buy 1,200 gallon, they can pull 1,200 gallon out. It's working together is what it amounts to.
Sounds like you guys have it worked out.
We do, we just want to make sure the board's on board with it.
Yeah. Sounds like good.
Because like I said, when Clayton remembers some of your predecessors, it was approved in the boardroom, then we got going on it. One of them got real concerned about us spending all this time and money up at Fontana Park. So I'm better off coming to you in advance.
You need a motion on this.
I don't, I just need approval.
I'd make
I think we make. I think we make-
I'd make the motion, we have secondary work with county conservation on the use of the scraper
Second.
and funding.
At a first and second, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
If they get stuck, I'll probably end up running out there too with the bridge truck or something, but we'll worry about that when the time comes.
Hopefully. Conditions aren't where we're going to, but it's just hard to say so until we get into it.
That's right.
But,
Hey, that being the case, I thank you and you have a great one.
Good luck. Thank you.
And I'm probably not gonna stick around for the public hearings since I'm on vacation.
All right. Enjoy your vacation.
I enjoy every day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. I enjoy every day. I wouldn't get outside without it. Thank you.
All right. Next up is public comment. Please be nice. Keep your comments to 3 minutes and speak only one time. Anybody?
it's not.
Hearing no public comments?
When the minutes are, and this is just a curiosity question on my part, simply because I don't know. When the minutes are changed, is that added as an amendment? Or are the minutes, the actual minutes changed? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
So what I did, with the motion, it's basically called an amendment to the minutes. But I went back into the draft minutes and inserted the wording regarding Intercog submitting a bid that Supervisor Hort requested. And so then those will be the final minutes that are set for publication.
So the actual minutes that are actually being changed in that.
Correct. It's just inserted a sentence is what we did.
Okay. And that's, I just didn't know if that was.
Yeah. So when the board gets the minutes initially, they're all in draft version. Then once they're approved, they're finalized and sent to publication and posted up on the website.
You can change the actual wording of. the
Correct.
minutes.
Yes, because they're truly a draft.
They can, okay.
Yep. Welcome.
No other public comments. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn.
Take motion to adjourn.
Second.
First, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's the whole day we are. Storm.